Peace be upon you all, and welcome to a new episode. On a dark night in November 2021, a phone suddenly rang in a quiet household. The sound of the ringtone pierced the stillness of the night. A family member answered, only to hear a strange voice, like something straight out of a horror movie. The voice said two words that shook her to the core. "If you want him back, $500,000. $500,000. A number like that freezes the blood in your veins. It's unimaginable for someone to ask such a sum from an ordinary family. But this time, it's not a movie. This is real. And that voice was not joking. The family gathered in panic. No one knew who had disappeared, why, or how. They called the police and reported what they'd heard. But there was something strange about the story. The officer who received the report, an experienced man, felt something was off. The ransom amount was too big, and the voice asking for it seemed to know a lot of details about the family, like it came from someone inside their circle. The officer mobilized his team. They searched everywhere, examined every call, every message, every clue that might lead them to the truth. The investigation took them down a dark path, a road full of secrets and betrayal. On November 15th, 2021, after long hours of exhausting work, they arrived at a remote farmland, far from prying eyes. They began to dig, the tension rising with every meter they went deeper, until they reached a depth of 14 meters and found something that made everyone freeze in place. A decomposing body, buried, while still breathing. That moment was like a lightning strike. The police discovered that this crime wasn't just a murder. It was a devilish plan, carefully orchestrated, as if it were a painting drawn by a twisted mind. There was betrayal. There was treachery. There was terrifying intelligence. How did the case reach this point? Who planned all of this? And how did one of those involved manage to escape justice? Get ready, everyone, because this story will take you on a whirlwind of mystery and surprises from the very first second to the last. And before we begin our story, don't forget to like and share the episode so it can reach as many people as possible. If you're a fan of Indian stories, subscribe to the other channel so you can get all the latest updates. You'll find the link in the description box. And without diving into too much detail just yet, let's jump into the depths of our story. In the year 2016, a young man named Muhammad, 36 years old, was working as a farmer on his agricultural land. Muhammad was a simple man, living a quiet life. His work on the land was his whole world. He was kind-hearted, always willing to help others, and he was known among his friends and neighbors as a sincere and dependable person. He had built his own home with his own hands, fulfilling his dream of living a stable life, starting a family, and leaving behind something good for his children. Muhammad didn't have much experience when it came to romantic relationships, like many men his age, so he left the task of choosing his wife to his family. He trusted them deeply and believed they would choose someone suitable for him. That's when Walaa entered the picture, a 31-year-old woman from a well-known and respected family. Walaa was very smart, eloquent, and knew how to speak and act wisely. Everyone praised her manners and high morals. She had this unusual ability to make people like her. Her words were thoughtful, her gaze calm, and her behavior calculated. She knew how to control a situation without making it obvious that she was the one steering it. She presented herself as calm and modest, but there was a strange spark in her eyes, as if she was always thinking of something bigger. When Muhammad's family saw her, they felt she was the perfect match for their son. They believed she would be an ideal wife, who would help Muhammad live a quiet and stable life. The marriage happened quickly in August 2016, and their life started off like any ordinary couple. Muhammad worked day and night, tending to his land, providing everything for Walaa. He tried in every way to make her happy. He brought her whatever she desired, cared for her, and wanted nothing more than to see her smile and feel satisfied with the life he was offering her. At first, life was peaceful. There were the usual small arguments that happen in any marriage, but nothing major. Muhammad started to genuinely fall in love with Walaa. He felt like she was truly his life partner, the one who would walk the journey of life with him. But he always felt that something was missing, something he couldn't quite identify. He felt that Walaa wasn't as open with him as he was with her. It was as if a part of her was hidden, like there was a secret she didn't want to reveal. Muhammad felt like Walaa was a closed book. Sometimes he'd find her upset, complaining about their simple life, about the daily routine, saying she felt life was boring. She told him she had once dreamed of something bigger, more exciting, a life full of adventure and change. But she never clearly said what exactly she wanted. She always spoke in vague, general terms, as if she desired something out of reach. Then, at other times, he'd find her happy, laughing, talking to him like she was living in paradise. And he believed her in both states. He believed her tears when she was sad, and her laughter when she was joyful. But that left him in constant confusion. He didn't know what she truly wanted. He kept trying to get closer to her, to understand her. But the more he tried, the more he felt she was drifting away. In June 2017, they were blessed with a child, and Muhammad felt the weight of new responsibilities. But he was determined to keep his family together. He dreamed of building a strong household and raising his children in a peaceful home. Life moved on, but disagreements started becoming more frequent. Muhammad tried hard to understand Walaa, but she was always mysterious, never giving clear answers. He felt she was pulling away from him, and he didn't know why. In August 2018, they were blessed with a second child. Muhammad became even more focused on his work, trying to provide everything for his family. He worked long hours, came home exhausted, but always tried to stay optimistic. He dreamed of his children growing up in a home filled with love and security. But the conflicts with Walaa became more intense. He felt like she wasn't satisfied, and every time he tried to talk to her, her responses only left him more confused. She would say she wanted a better life, that she felt like she was living in a cage. But at the same time, she never offered a solution. Muhammad tried to please her. He brought her gifts, tried to make her laugh, but it all went in vain. At that time, he had a close friend named Gomaa, a young man who worked as a blacksmith and sometimes helped Muhammad on the farm. Gomaa was a close friend, but their relationship was limited to work. He didn't visit Muhammad's home often or spend time with him outside of work. Muhammad trusted Gomaa deeply. He considered him like a brother, someone he could open up to and share his problems with. By January 2019, after 3 years of marriage, the problems between Muhammad and Walaa became more obvious. Muhammad started confiding in Gomaa about the issues he was having with Walaa. He told him he didn't understand what she really wanted. Sometimes she seemed tired of the routine. Other times she seemed happy like nothing was wrong. He shared how he felt she was unhappy and that he was trying to please her but didn't know how. Gomaa, who listened closely to Muhammad, suggested an idea. He said, "I can come sit with you both at home, hear both sides, and maybe help fix things between you." Muhammad agreed immediately. He trusted Gomaa's intentions and saw it as a simple solution that might restore peace to his home. In February 2019, Gomaa entered Muhammad's house for the first time. The three of them, Muhammad, Walaa, and Gomaa sat together and began discussing their issues. Walaa was very calm, spoke logically and in a structured way, like she knew exactly what to say. She explained her point of view in a way that made everyone feel like she was the victim. Mohammed, on the other hand, was nervous, unable to express himself as clearly as she did. Gomaa began to feel like Walaa was the one in the right, and that Mohammed simply didn't understand his wife. The session ended without a major fight, and Mohammed felt things had calmed down a little. But what he didn't know was that this meeting marked the beginning of a very dangerous game. After that visit, Gomaa started going to Mohammed's house more frequently. Every time he finished work, he would stop by, and Mohammed didn't see anything wrong with it. He saw Gomaa as a brother. But the truth was very different. Gomaa had been attracted to Walaa for a long time. Ever since he saw her interacting with Mohammed in the fields, Walaa knew this very well, and she intentionally tried to catch his attention. Every time he came to the farm, she acted like the perfect wife, being kind and caring to Mohammed in front of Gomaa. But when they were alone, she was a different person. In March 2020, Gomaa couldn't hold it in anymore and told Walaa, "I love you." And the surprise was, Walaa didn't reject him, and she wasn't angry. She responded in a way that made him feel she loved him too. From that moment, a secret relationship began between them. At first, the relationship was just phone calls. For an entire week in April 2020, they exchanged words of love and passion. Walaa knew exactly how to control Gomaa without making it obvious that she was the one in charge. She used her sweet talk and intelligence to make him feel like he was the one calling the shots. After that week, in May 2020, the relationship became more dangerous. Gomaa knew Mohammed's schedule perfectly, since he worked with him on the farm. So he started going to Mohammed's house when he knew it would be empty, spending time with Walaa without raising any suspicions. Walaa was extremely clever. She planned every step. She knew when to smile in public and when to fake sadness to throw people off. No one, not Mohammed or anyone else, suspected a thing because she was always cautious and organized. That relationship lasted for 8 months, from May to December 2020, without anyone noticing. During that time, Mohammed was happy, thinking his relationship with Walaa had improved and the arguments had lessened. He believed Gomaa's involvement had helped fix things. But the truth was that Walaa was just acting. She gave Mohammed enough attention to keep him calm, while she lived a completely different life with Gomaa behind his back. Gomaa, who started the relationship out of attraction, genuinely fell in love. He began to feel jealous of Mohammed. It bothered him to hear Walaa laughing with her husband. He started to dream of having her all to himself. In January 2021, Gomaa told Walaa that he wanted to marry her, but they'd have to get rid of Mohammed first. Walaa agreed, but she set one clear condition. "I don't want to know what you're going to do, or when. Just do it." That wasn't a random statement. Walaa knew that if she didn't know the details, she wouldn't be legally implicated in the crime. In February 2021, Walaa began executing a more cunning plan. She started spreading rumors among Mohammed's relatives that he had gotten involved in illegal antiquities trading and was secretly dealing with dangerous people. She told these stories with fake concern, as if she was worried about him, but at the same time emphasized that this kind of work brought in a lot of money. She told the same tale to his family, neighbors, and even friends in a way that made everyone believe she was genuinely scared for him. The idea was to make sure everyone knew Mohammed had gotten into the antiquities trade, so that if he ever disappeared or got arrested, no one would be surprised. At the same time, she began feeding Mohammed's own greed. She told him that antiquities trading would make him rich, that his land might have buried treasures, and that Gomaa would help him. Muhammad, who deeply trusted Gomaa, started to believe the story. In March 2021, Gomaa suggested to Muhammad that they dig on his land to search for antiquities. He told him that some people were certain there were valuable artifacts buried underground, and that it would be safe because the land belonged to him. Muhammad agreed without hesitation, tempted by the promise of wealth and trusting his friend completely. The digging started quietly in April 2021, and everything seemed normal. But on November 9, 2021, Muhammad left for work as usual and never came back. That same day, Gomaa also disappeared. That night, Walaa went to Muhammad's family in fake panic, claiming that Muhammad had gone off with some strange men who looked like antiquities dealers and hadn't returned since. She added that his phone was still ringing, but he wasn't answering. Hours later, Muhammad's family received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end sounded strange and threatening. He said, "The guy we have tricked us. If you want him back, you have to pay $500,000. Minutes later, Walaa herself received a similar call. The same voice, the same demand. These calls were carefully calculated. The voice wasn't Gomaa's, and the call came from a faraway location to confuse any tracking attempts. On November 10, 2021, Walaa and Muhammad's family went to the police station to report Muhammad as missing. They didn't mention anything about antiquities to avoid getting Muhammad in trouble if he returned. They just said he had been kidnapped, and the kidnappers demanded a ransom of $500,000. The police were very surprised. The amount was extremely high for an ordinary person. The officer who took the report was an experienced man, and he sensed that something wasn't right. He asked Muhammad's family if he had any known enemies, but there were no clear answers. The investigation began, and the police reviewed Muhammad's call logs. They discovered that his last call had been with an unknown number, and it only lasted a few seconds. When they traced the number, they found it was registered under Gomaa's name. The police realized Gomaa was the key to the case. They began monitoring his movements, checking all his communications, and analyzing every piece of information they had. After 5 days of investigation, on November 15, 2021, they arrested Gomaa, who had been hiding in a rented apartment in another governorate. When he saw the police, he was visibly shaken. He tried to stay calm, but under pressure during interrogation, he broke down. He confessed that Muhammad had died on the very first day he went missing, November 9, 2021, and that he was buried 14 meters deep in the ground. Gomaa led the police to the location of the body and recounted the horrific details. He said that Walaa had put a sedative in Muhammad's drink on November 9th to make the job easier for him. When Muhammad went to meet Gomaa at the farm, he wasn't fully conscious. Gomaa lured him to the pit, which Muhammad himself had helped dig, believing there were antiquities, and began striking him hard on the body, chest, and neck until he collapsed. When he was sure that Muhammad could no longer resist, he tied his hands and feet and threw him into the pit while he was still alive. Then, he began covering him with soil, meter by meter, while Muhammad was still breathing. 14 meters of earth buried his body, and Gomaa walked away, as if nothing had happened. After the murder, Gomaa planned to mislead the police. He traveled to Kafr el-Sheikh Governorate and made a phone call to Muhammad's family, then went to Garbia Governorate and made another call using a different number and a disguised voice to make it seem like Muhammad had been kidnapped and was being moved between different locations by a criminal gang. During questioning, Gomaa did not hide his relationship with Walaa. He said they had a physical and emotional affair that lasted 8 months, from May to December 2020. and that Walaa knew he planned to kill Muhammad, even helping him by drugging him. When Walaa was summoned for questioning, she acted very cleverly. She admitted to cheating on her husband with Gomaa, but denied knowing anything about his murder plan. She claimed she believed Muhammad had disappeared after a falling out with antiquities dealers, and that the mysterious phone calls had convinced her of this story. She played the role of the victim masterfully. She broke down in front of the investigators, cried, and said she never imagined Gomaa could do something like that. The forensic report issued in December 2021 confirmed that Muhammad's body had no traces of drugs, meaning Gomaa's claim about the sedative was a lie. That implied Walaa had never drugged him in the first place and that she knew Gomaa's statement would incriminate her if he said otherwise. The case went to trial in January 2022. Gomaa and Walaa were both in custody pending the outcome of the case. All the evidence pointed to Gomaa as the one who killed Muhammad, and that it was a premeditated act. Walaa, on the other hand, had no direct evidence linking her to the crime or proving that she incited it. In June 2022, on the day of the verdict, the courtroom was packed. Everyone was waiting to hear the judge's decision. With a firm voice, the judge declared, Gomaa El Sayed Abdelati Ahmed is sentenced to death by hanging, and Walaa Shokri is acquitted of the charge of premeditated murder due to insufficient evidence. When Gomaa heard the verdict, he broke down. He screamed in court, "She knows everything. She's the one who told me to kill him." But his cries meant nothing. There was no evidence to support his claims. Walaa walked out of the courtroom calmly, wearing a black headscarf, her face emotionless, as if she had just won a game. The judge looked at her and said, "You are innocent in the eyes of the law, but between you and God, that's another matter." After the trial, Walaa disappeared from everyone's lives. She cut ties with Muhammad's family and stopped appearing in public. It was as if she wanted to erase every trace of the past. The question that still lingers in everyone's minds: why did she do all this? Was she trying to escape a life she didn't like? Was she chasing a new future? Or was it just a devious game she wanted to win? Share your thoughts in the comments. And that's the end of today's episode. If this is your first time watching the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.